They can conjure up tries from anywhere. Anything can happen. Having said that, there's no doubt the battle is going to be waged in the middle, in the trenches. It'll be physical, it'll be brutal, the collisions will be violent. We'll watch, we'll cringe at the cruelty, but it's compelling viewing. You won't be able to look away. I think this game will only play out one way. It's a simple law of the jungle. Only the strongest will survive.
Ladies and gentlemen, super coaches everywhere, of course, our loyal war rumors that I know love tuning in at this time on a Tuesday night. The only place to get your conundrums answered and to set up your super coach run so you can run home. I am your host, Oby. Of course, I'm coach of the One Last Flight, and I tell you what, I am fucking in training at the moment. I am ready. The run home is upon us. Of course, Origin Wednesday night. But it's not all about me. I am joined here by, of course, it's been a bit of a hiatus. God, get this hoodie off. It's been a hiatus. We've absolutely missed him here on the show. We've had to create a special segment because all of the jigs and the comments on Facebook and Instagram this is one guy that keeps receipts. And it is, of course, big Saggy Siege. Josh Siege, what's going on, brother?
Nothing, mate. Back after obviously very busy few weeks. Good to be in here with the not so slim Shady with his hoodie on. I decided to take a couple of weeks off. I've been on night shift, been down in Sydney representing Queensland Fireys in a easy win over the New South Wales Fireys last weekend or 2 weekends back.
How'd you play?
I was okay. They weren't good. I was decent. We're going back down round 26, Roosters versus Raiders. Last Roosters technical home game. We're playing before that against the New South Wales Coppers. So that should be a good game.
No way. Get out of town.
Yeah. So got to get through to that. Got to get some fitness over the next couple of weeks. We're back into it.
Oh, mate, you're looking pretty fit. You're looking good. Got a big
always do
in a couple of months, mate. You're on the wedge tread.
Yeah, it's starting now. It's after tomorrow night, actually. Let me get through some beers and some peach, and I'll be starting on Thursday.
Very nice. Very nice. Of course, Wednesday night is Origin. I can see there you've got scared for Queensland. You must be talking about that last game for the Fireys, mate, because tomorrow night, that is a sure thing, of course. And yeah, mate, real Sim Shady. But look, I pretended I was training. I've got my hoodie on. Really, it's just fucking freezing here in Queensland. Like, it drops under 20 degrees. I don't do well. We're in a cold snap at the moment. But, mate, speaking of cold snaps, how is your Supercoach team going? Where are you rated overall? You've had a couple of weeks off to clear your head, get yourself right for that big run home, your head-to-head, your cashies. How you feeling?
Feeling not too bad. Last 2 weeks haven't been great. I was hoping the weekend was going to be a little bit better. It ended up being 924. So I've seen green arrows. I'm top 15,000. Still got 9 trades. My team's looking pretty good. A couple of injuries on the weekend kind of screwed me, but feeling confident. I'm going well in the High Rollers League, I'll tell you that. Sitting third currently, that big $3,500 payday if I can win that one, and that's the goal at the moment.
Nice. Good cashy. That's all right. Yeah, mate, it was 978 for me on the weekend. Round 19 was just one I was actually like happy to just put out there. I just kind of wanted to stay so in touch because really planning a really strong run home. So super happy with 978. I still sit inside the top 1,000. I'm 941st. I have 12 trades before I use any this week up my sleeve. And of course, my elusive 3 boosts as well. So, yeah, mate. Well, we probably, if I'd use all my boosts like you, we'd be on the same trades there, Saggy. So, well done, sir.
Yeah.
Well done. Of course, one of the loyal listeners there, he's called absolute bullshit that you've got 9 trades left. I don't see it. Now, but mate, when we do get to the pointy end of the season, look, we do thank you, War Rumors, that are sticking with us, that are joining in the podcast. I know over the bye period, we've been a little bit how you going, a couple of different nights. I certainly forgot to upload one a couple of weeks. So look, we do appreciate you sticking with us. Hang with us. Of course, look, if you're bowing out of the overall race, you've still got your head-to-heads. We're definitely going to try and touch on that a little bit on the pod. I know we do sort of talk about overall a lot, but we'll talk about head-to-head. We'll give you an Oberg Cup update. And, of course, I've got Saggy on tonight. So, mate, we'll hear about the the Invitational as well and see how things are sitting there. But, mate, let's first get into your Super Coach. Of course, if you are looking for team lists, you can jump on NRL.com or listen to any of the other podcasts. They cover it all. So it's super easy. We like to be a bit of a point of difference here in the War Room. And I think this next part, mate, we can get through pretty quickly because, as you pointed, well, what was your observation as you had a look at the most traded in, traded out? What was your takeaways?
Yeah, obviously a few injuries on the weekend, and one of the biggest ones, I think about 30% owned. Appy Coruscant out for a few weeks. So with the most traded in and most traded out, that sort of reflects that. And I think it comes down to there's about 3 or 4 hookers that people are looking to bring in. Generally, this year, people aren't running those 2 quality hookers. So it's not as if Appy's going to really be your backup or you're covering him too well. Thankfully, it's happened at a time where people still should have a few trades, so you can make those trades. But as an Appy owner, I'm looking at probably 3 or 4 blokes who I could bring into my hooker position this week. Top one's Reed Marnie, and he's on that list. Connor Watson, Harry Grant, and then could go someone a little bit less like a Blake Brayley maybe or someone along those lines. But I think it's probably out of Watson, Reed, and Grant. Obviously, with everything we say tonight, if you are making trades, you've got to wait until see what happens after tomorrow night because it could be injuries, it could be whatever come out of Origin. And we say this every week or every time there is an Origin buy round. You need to wait till an hour before game time to see which players are in, which players are out because those changes can be made pretty late on.
Yeah, definitely. Well, mate, look, we'll get into the top traded in, top traded out. I do want to do a bit of a fun. After that, I think we'll give the people what they want. We'll give them the Oberg Cup update, the Invitational. And then I thought, look, what would be fun is a lot of people do start to focus on that run home. I thought we could both go through each position, hooker, front row forward, obviously all the positions there on the Supercoach field, and just give a couple of players that maybe you're targeting or you've got in your consideration, and alternatively, like players that you definitely want in your team for that run home. I know you've been doing a lot of draw analysis, so I'm really interested to get that insight from you. But mate, let's jump into most traded in, most traded out. Just see if anything you disagree with. We got Fletcher Sharp, first one, most traded out, and Oppie Carousel, number 2. Both of those make perfect sense. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. Also, Nico's there at 3, and again, somebody's going to be out for a while. So those 3, Fletcher Sharp's been dropped this week for Ponga as long as he gets through Wednesday night. Appy's out for 1 to 3 weeks. Nico's out as well. So those are 3 players that aren't playing. You can't really have those positions, fullback, hooker, and halfback, as nuffs at the moment.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's it. You got Blaze Talungi there, number 4, which is your perfect time. He is absolutely maxed out. We got round 19 out of him last week. A little bit disappointing. He only scored 24, I do believe last week. But Blaze Talungi, he is a perfect nuff out option there. And that comes in at number 5, Dylan Brown. Mate, interesting. I want to put this to you. I've got Dylan Brown at number 5 and Lachlan Galvin at number 6. Both, it's a popular 5/8 pairing. What do you think of that? And if you could keep one, who are you keeping, Galvin or Brown?
I've got Galvin. I never picked up Brown. Personally, I would be probably sticking with Brown, even though his form hasn't been great. He still scores okay, even when the Eels don't play really well. I think he's on the list because they're not playing this week. So obviously people might be struggling for numbers. And I know a lot of people are struggling for numbers more than I thought they would, especially with some restings. But obviously people have gone heavy on the Sharks and heavy on the Eels, not so much the Dragons. So I'd be keeping Brown out of those 2. Galvin's been really good, but the weekend just scared the shit out of me. I know the Tigers probably couldn't have played worse, and he scored 32, which is not the worst score, but there's just a few good options to go to in that 5/8 position now. So people are jumping off him or jumping off both of them and going, but they're only 20,000 different, which is pretty surprising. 599 and 570.
Yeah, I think if you're going to keep one for me, it is Dylan Brown. Just with Moses coming in, Eels will want to just get some kind of face on the way back, on the back end of the season there. But look, we'll talk about Burton in a second because he is on the most traded in list, and I just would love to get your thoughts. Obviously, Ewan Aitken is on the most traded out list. That horrible torn pectoral muscle on the weekend. Latrell's still out to round 23, I believe. So that one makes perfect sense. Probably making way for Turbo, which I think is a popular trade in this week. Kyle Ero as well is on the most traded out. What do you think, Kale? Is he? Could you hold him? You could certainly hold him as a fifth or a week.
I was going to say the weekend was the first time he actually scored a try, so I'm a bit surprised people are trading him out. Again, it's another one because he doesn't play this week. People are trading him, but at the same time, we'll talk about it a little bit later on. But the Sharks got a pretty decent run home. He's going to score you 50 points a week. That's if he's not scoring tries, which he doesn't. But he scored one on the weekend. But he's definitely getting you around that 50-point mark, which is not the worst with a small upside. I personally wouldn't be getting rid of him. I think there's probably better options to get rid of. But if you're desperate and you want to make a trade, I can understand why you're trading someone who's not playing this week out for someone who is.
Yeah, makes sense, mate. We'll go to the most traded in. Tom Trbojevic is number one on the list. Obviously, I bought him down. I bought him in last week. I got to tell you, mate, I was nervous on Saturday because Jaden Campbell. I didn't really need to bring in Jaden Campbell. I also didn't really need to bring in Turbo. I just had a bit of faith in Turbo's good stocks, and Jaden Campbell was like, it was literally a gamble on Campbell. Loved the negative break even. Wasn't sure if he'd go too well. So both Saturday game and Sunday game, I was fucking nervous, but both paid off for me, which able to just stay with the pack, which I liked. Mate, Tom Trbojevic, is there any Turbo in your future, Saggy? And what do you think of the trade-in?
Yeah. So I'm really looking at fullbacks at the moment because I got to still trade Fuller there, which I need to flick over the next few weeks. And it's just a matter of who am I going to be bringing in. So I've got to look at the draws, work it out. There's probably about 3 or 4 people tossing up, but Turbo on the weekend, 119. He plays the Titans this week again at Four Pines Park. So I can understand why people are jumping on him. Personally, I'm a little bit... So they play the Titans this week, great matchup. Then they play the Roosters, and then they have a bye. So over the next 3 weeks, he'll have one great game. Roosters, they might go well against. I can't imagine he'll be tunning up, but he could. And then they have the bye. So not great for 2 weeks there. After that, easier run. So I think if you're buying him, you are locking him down, and you're just going to run him for the rest of the season.
Yeah, definitely an option. See, the one thing that I will the one cursor that I just want to make sure all War Rumors are considering in their trade plan, and just give me 2 seconds. It takes me a while to get down to a Knight who's a top scorer. 44th tops. The top Knight is Dane Gagai with and he is in position 44 for Supercoach scorers. So it says it shows how well the Knights have been going this season. Where's Gilly when you need to hang shit on him? But see, round 23, Knights come into Tigers, Sharks, Rabbits, and Gold Coast, which isn't a bad run home for big Kalen Ponga. Is there any other ones? Is there any other fullbacks in your sort of, in your findings that you are maybe leaning towards? You want to maybe have a little bit of a look at?
Yeah, the other one that I'd consider, and I hadn't up until about 20 minutes ago, and that is Reece Walsh. The Broncos were disgusting on the weekend, and they have been bad at numerous occasions this year, but he can score points. Even in a losing team, he can score points, and they've got a pretty nice run home. If he backs up this week against the Knights, the Bulldogs are tough, but then they play the Titans, they play the Cowboys, they play Parra and the Dolphins. They got Melbourne in round 27. It's probably a must-win for the Broncos if they're still alive. Melbourne can probably rest players. So the last 3 are also all at Suncorp, which again helps them. So it's a bit of a balls to the wall play because he can have those games where he scores low. But if the Broncos do anything this year, Reece Walsh is going to have to be involved. So he's a bit of a look in, I think. Firstly, obviously, again, get through Origin, see what's going on. But I couldn't argue with that. I could see him going well, scoring well. It's a bit more of a risk than Turbo, probably a bit more of a risk than Ponga, but man, you got to risk it to get the biscuit, eh?
Yeah. Stephen Vittori just asking the question, how long is CNK out for? He was thinking about going him to Ponga. Mate, I think he is out to round 22, CNK.
Yeah, but I don't think you'd want him. He's selling him, so I'd probably be selling CNK anyway. He's been fucking horrible.
Yeah, you'd want to go earlier, mate. He was never a trade-in, as I told you, boys.
Down to 540, so that just shows his form.
Mate, number 2. So just to wrap up your fullback analysis, obviously Teddy is number 1. I have been calling it all season, including the preseason. And that's the way, not only the best fullback, but also the top scoring player in Supercoach.
Did you start with him?
Pardon? Yeah, of course.
Okay.
No, I didn't. I started with Drinky and I think Turbo. I started with, but went to him pretty fast, sold him, gone to him again. So no, fucking sold him right before Origin. What a fucking crock up that was. But that's all right. That's why I got Latrell. So look, it's all worked out for me. I'm in the top 1,000. I'm getting my key ring, baby. I'm getting my key ring. I'm convinced this year. This is my year to get my key ring. If
Hopefully.
not top 100's a goal, bro. So Teddy first. Second, you were more like, do you like Turbo at second, or you want to replace second with Reece Walsh?
I'd go Reece Walsh. Walsh. He plays an extra game, so they don't have the buy in there, which helps.
Turbo third.
After the weekend, I'd have to go Turbo third. And then the Knights were just so bad. I know.
If they don't do key rings, Bergie, Nick Bergs just said, do they still do key rings? I mean, I can assure you, if they don't do key rings, I'll be writing an angrier letter than the great glitch of 2024. And we know that was an angry email. Fucking furious.
Sweating when you're doing that. It's
filthy.
But yeah, I think I don't think the Knights have got anything left in them. They were.
Yeah, it's why I held off. It's why I held off Marzu when everyone was like really, really excited. I was like, I just haven't seen anything from the Knights, and I'm not willing to, base it on a dream that they're going to have like a run home like they had last year. Like it was in the out. It wasn't the normal. It was the outlier. I'm with you there, mate. Can I throw a cat in amongst the pigeons for your fullback ratings? Dylan Edwards, where would you put him?
Edwards not as high, so he's not backing up this week, regardless of what happens in Origin. They do have a nice run then. It's a couple of easy games, and their finish isn't too bad easy. They got Melbourne in round 24, but otherwise, Penrith do have a pretty good run home. I don't think he scores as well as obviously he has when Cleary was out, because he won't be goal kicking. Probably won't have to do as much, but he's a very safe fullback that you chuck in. I'd almost put him over Ponga, because his average, even though Ponga probably have a higher game in there, his average is probably going to be better than Ponga overall anyway.
Yeah, I think he loses a little bit of that responsibility and that kicking, as you've just said, with Cleary out. But look, I don't mind Edwards as a play. I'm feeling quite comfortable where I'm at with what I saw on the weekend from Tommy Turbs and Teddy, and obviously, hopefully Turbo makes a bit more money, so it just makes it a straight trade if you need to. I don't mind that Reece Walsh chat. Did you see jersey number 24, Adam Reynolds was named?
Yeah, that obviously. When he comes back, that's a big plus for the Broncos. They need it. But,
he just creates that space for Reece Walsh to actually use his speed, and that's just not happening at the moment for the Broncos. I don't know what is going on with the Broncos, but I, for one, am loving it. Mate, Nathan Cleary, big news of this round, makes his long-awaited return up against the Dolphins, has been named at number 7 for the Panthers, and that means that he is the number 2 most traded in. Look, he does come into this week with 189 break even. For me, it is a wait. I am happy. I will probably most likely be bringing him in for the Dragons matchup next week, but I'm happy for him to hopefully drop some cash. I'm happy to also have him have a little peeksy at him. Where do you sit on Cleary?
Yeah, big Nate Dogg's a definite wait for me. I was just looking at his form. It's not great. They do play at Penrith at 2:00 this week. Now, I don't know what Sydney weather is, but if it's a dry track, that's a pretty much peak time, 2:00. I just like this year, and I know obviously some games have been injury, but his first game, and it's Melbourne, which is different, but he scored 36, and then at a 73, 121. He came back against the Cowboys, played 80 minutes, only scored 51. He played a half a footy against the Bulldogs, he was only on 31. So, I wouldn't be surprised if he scores 100. I can't see him going huge. Hopefully the Dolphins show up. If they don't, do they rest him after 60? It's a definite way. I think you have to have him in, but I don't think it's going to hurt you too much to sit on him for a week, see what happens, let him drop some cash, and then go from there.
Yeah. Oh, honestly, I like the play. I like where your head is at, good sir. Mate, Tavito Pango Jr., most traded in at number 3. Is this just a nuff out option? Is this just a bit of a joke? He is dual second row forward and front row forward. Do you see any merit in this trade? Or is it just people chasing last week's points?
I think people are definitely chasing last week's points. I think he probably can score you 40 points. He's also happy with that duel that you can move him up and down. So just to plug him in, especially over another shit player, he probably gets more game time as well now with Ewan Aiken out, moving obviously someone to the second row, which means they're losing more and more front row depth. Maxi Platt's obviously not in that rotation anymore, playing lock. So he's going to get more minutes, but I don't know. I don't know why you having a, unless you're downgrading someone. Like I could downgrade a Corey Jensen to him, make 110K, and they'd probably score something similar for the run home. But it just seems such a sideways trade that with someone who's under 10 trades, I just can't do it.
No, I agree. And that brings me to the next one, mate. A lot of people bringing in Matt Burton. And when I say a lot of people, almost 2,000 people, 4% have traded him in this week. What am I missing here? I understand a couple of easy runs home and stuff like that. I guess where I sit as look, I know that 16 is about to drop out of his average. His price will go back up to 6s and, maybe even push to the 7s. Obviously, he does goal kick, but I don't see, like, Bulldogs aren't blowing out teams, right? The way that they've been winning is, like, gritty wins based on defense. Most of the attack does go through Matt Burton, but I'm not seeing those big scores, like, kind of thing. I don't know if it's worth a trade. Where do you sit on Matty Burton?
I hadn't considered him till I saw this, and then I started diving into it, and I've gone, okay, I can understand where people are coming from. So he had 2 bad scores where it was 16, and the week before he had a 39, which is not horrible. But other than that, he's been 70s or 80s for a good, 10-week stretch there. He obviously scored some tries in there, but the Dogs, as you said, they got a nice run home. I think probably the other day the Tigers game scared a lot of people, so maybe they're going, I'm going to jump off Galvin now, or I'm over the Eels. The Eels have given up on their season, obviously, so Brown's gone, and they're looking for someone a similar price who has that upside. Burton's, as I said, he scored 70 or 80 most of the season. So you take out those 2 bad scores, his average is right up there. So I can understand it. It's obviously a bit of a risk, but I reckon he's probably going to score you 60 or 70 for the run home. The only game, if the Bronx turn up, maybe not that week, but I think they could go all right. And they should be making the top 8, so they'll be really pushing for it.
Yeah, look, not to like anti-pod him too, not to get on the, bag out Matt Burton too much of the trade. Just something to think about, guys. He's got Cowboys this week. It's the last game of the round. Most of their Origin stars should back up because they've got literally 5 days sort of to turn around there. You've got Broncos who are playing for their absolute season. Like, that'll be one of their grand finals. They want to beat the Bulldogs. And then they've got Canberra, which I think and this is the reason I want to make this point is just for the war room is out there. You look at Canberra, and absolutely they have been an easy beat. They have been one of those, those things you mark on. Yep, should get a good score. But they've got Jamal Fogarty coming back this week. And when Jamal was playing early in the season, they were they were the top 14. I don't think they'd still be there, but they were a lot better with that direction. Him and Ethan Strange are getting a good combination. So maybe Raiders aren't the easy beats that we've sort of fallen into into the mindset. That this could be a really good big super coach playing week. I'm going to skip on Burton, and I think if I'm going to get anyone, I'm going to get Munster when he drops a little bit of cash if he comes back. If I even upgrade a 5/8 position, it's a bit. I've got Jaden Campbell there at the moment, so the need's not high for me, but it's a bit of a nufter. But I don't know. I don't see the attraction. Reid Mahoney, mate, I want you to talk me through him. Obviously, a lot of people with Api Coruscant looking to make that move. I myself am definitely leaning towards Connor Watson, not only for the duel, but just I think he's an 80-minute player. He can score a try. And he's getting through that work in the middle. You don't get too many 80-minute hookers these days. Why do you like Reid Mahoney? Mahoney.
He's another one. The Dogs do have a pretty decent run home. One of the war rumors was really smart and said they don't really have a home game to round 26, but they play at Belmore in round 22. One of their other home games, they're actually going up to Bundaberg. I think that's to play the Dolphins. But even though it's an easier draw, they're not always actually home games. But his scores since round 6, he's gone 50 or better. He had a 48 in there. So 48, 53, 84, 60, 70, 80, 90. And obviously he's had some tries in there, but when he's not scoring tries, I didn't realize he makes this many tackles. He's averaging about 50 tackles. Over the last 4 weeks, he's had 51, 57, 55, 66 tackles against the Warriors the other day. So whether they're attacking and what the Dogs have been really good at this year is just defending for the entire game or defending their asses off. He's just making all those tackles. So he's probably going to be a 50 baser on the right home. If he gets any attacking stats, automatically there's a 60. We'll touch on Connor Watson now as well. He's been amazing. The difference between Connor Watson and Reed is Connor Watson's 50K more. They could spell him a little bit because he's not going to be playing hooker the whole time. He probably play a bit of lock, play a bit of hooker. He has more attacking upside, but I think he's also a lot more likely to come off the field. And like come round 27, maybe they rest him even this week. I doubt they do against Melbourne, but there's a small chance, depending on how many minutes he plays, he could get rested. So Reed's probably just that safer option, I believe.
Yeah. I don't mind it, mate. I just think, look, playing 80 minutes, absolutely. He goes from lock, then he moves to hooker when Cheese gets a rest, and then he moves back on the lock when Cheese comes back on for that last 10, 15. We are also playing Sand and Smith. So, does Cheese come back on? Does Connor get a rest, or does it one of the other forwards and Connor keeps playing? He's certainly fit enough. I think he's in career best form. And I look, Chookies have got a couple of tough games with Melbourne, Manly coming up. Then we go into Dolphins, Parramatta, Gold Coast, Canberra, and the Rabbits. I like those odds, and I like us making breaks all over the field, and Connor possibly backing up through the middle. So
the only thing with that is, have you? So I'm assuming you have Dom Young, you got Teddy.
Yep.
You may be going to get Crichton back in. I've got Terrell May. If I bring in Connor Watson, all of a sudden I might be looking at 4 or 5 guys that I don't have there for round 23, and I'm starting to probably stress.
Good point. Really, really, really good point there. Not something I'd consider because I do have Terrell. I can get through Teddy. I get through Dom Young. They're all kind of in different positions, right? Maybe I'll wait a little bit on Gus Bus. I've got the depth. I've got the depth there to cover it, but I am also nuffing out players left, right, and center. So they're not all
on that. Like I'm in the position. I'm assuming a fair few other people are as well. My backup hooker does not exist. It's Joey Lussick. Big rest in peace, Joey Lussick. He's not playing NRL again this year. They brought in like 4 hookers in front of him. I'm not going to change him out because it's just a waste. So if I was to bring Connor Watson in round 23, I would simply go, all right, I'm just not playing a hooker this week. I'm taking an AE. If I bring in Reed, touch wood, he doesn't get injured, then I don't need to play a week where I'm going to have an AE or just knock that player.
I like it. Give me something to think about there. I still like Watson. I was just planning on bringing Manu in for the run home as well. Just to have 7 chooks, just because we're going. So
yeah, which is sweet. You have to get past round 23 though.
Mate, Ruben Garrick, do you like him as a trade in this week? Number 6 most traded in. Obviously, great last week. Manly looking good. They've got a great run home. 4 Pines, 4 o'clock this weekend. Again, it might be the lowest you get him for the rest of the season. What do you think of that trade in?
Yeah, I like him. I think him, another one down the bottom there's Tedesco. If you don't have either of those guys, you definitely want them. Even though Teddy's extremely expensive, I think you need to, you have to. I'm still not happy about the weekend where Garrick put Saab away 4 times down the edge, and they said, "Oh no,
you got robbed there, dude." Like
Turbo goes.
I was certain that Turbo would lose at least one of them, and
like, how do you get a line break assist, and you're saying like, "Oh no, because he swept out the back, that's the reason line break assist was." Well, no, he comes around the back. He sets up a 3v2. He's got the option to hit short, which he did, and Garrick tipped on, or he can throw a long ball to Saab. If he throws a long ball to Saab, yep, he's given the line break assist. If he doesn't, he gives the ball to Garrick. Garrick then has a 2-on-1, which he still needs to fucking do, which he did 4 times, and they didn't give him any of the line break assists. I lost a fucking cash comp by 6 points. I had Garrick as my fucking captain, and I was like,
great captain as well. Proud of you.
but it's just like, if you understand rugby league, just because a dude swept out the back does not mean he created the line break assist. Whoever passed the ball created the line break assist. I'm gonna kill someone.
No, I'm with you. Justice for Garrick. Justice for Garrick. But just give Tom Turbo more points. I would have looked at that as my captain. Mate, you did touch on it. Jaden Campbell still in there. He comes into this week with a negative 30 break even. I think I got him for 640 odd or maybe 670 odd last week. He's up to 753.
Did you buy him?
Yeah, bro. Bought in Jaden Campbell last week as well. So that's why Saturday was such a nervous watch. I was like, my 3 trades last week were Jaden. I think I only did 2 trades, Jaden Campbell and Turbo. I was like, yeah, touch me up.
Fuck.
I'll touch myself. And then I was like, fuck it. Dave Fafita got 50 as my VC. I'm like, I got to roll with Turbo, captain boy. I thought about Garrick, but I was like, oh, Tommy's playing for that. The thing that convinced me was it was Tom Trbojevic first time captaining the squad. I was like, surely he's up for a big one if he's like first time skipper. He won't want to let Jake down. Leader of men.
There was honestly, I was like, man, Campbell's just had the game of his life. There's no way he's going to repeat that. First half, he's on about 80 points. I've gone, oh no. If I was an owner, I would have been disappointed.
I was livid they didn't go on with it. I'm like, fucking dogs. Yeah. Like, yeah, we needed more. Needed more.
He's doing like that, what Nick Arima's been doing a lot for the Dolphins, where he's been coming around the back in that sweep play. Even when Brinksman was on, it was always Campbell coming around the back, playing off the back, and running the really nice block play. I think Manly this week's going to be a fair bit tougher. They do have the Dolphins the following week, and they've got St. George later on. I wouldn't be bringing in Campbell because I think the second half sort of showed what he could score if he doesn't have those amazing games. Yes, he's going to make some money, but I think you missed the boat now. He scored 170 and then scored 111.
You're not paying 750 for him. There's better options, guys. Like, for sure. Mate, that sort of rates out our top traded in, top traded out. One last one on there. Isaac Tungo, obviously bottom price dollar of $3.98. I think it's a bit of hope from people trading him in there that now Cleary's back. He's going to go back to some of those scores that he did at the start. What's your opinion on it?
Yeah, I think people got short memories. Obviously, they will go more that side with Cleary back on there. And he's fucking cheap. Like under 400,000 for a starting Penrith player who's had 200s this year. Crazy. But he's 200s, and I remember him because I was, especially at the start of the season, I was watching every game so closely. They played Parramatta. Parramatta's centre or winger went down and had to move a centre out. So they had to move a back row out there. They might have moved Kelma Tuolangi out to centre. And all they did was just give Tungo, they just went at him the whole game. They scored 3 or 4 tries. The following week, the exact same thing happened against the Broncos. Walsh broke his face. That's that game when Thingy shot out the line and hit him. Taylor May hit him in the face and broke Reece Walsh's face. So then they had to move, and whether it was Pierre Cora or as Jordan Ricky went out to centre, and again, Tungo just tore him up, and they just went that side constantly the whole time. And that's when he scored his 2 big hundreds. Since then, he's gone over 50 twice. So the rest of the season, he scored 2 50s, and everything else has been under that. Is there going to be a good score in there? Yep. You just need to time it right. But don't be surprised when he's getting a 35 or a 40 every other game. You're going, oh, why isn't Tungo killing it like he did for those 2 early games when Cleary was there? Because it was a completely different game. He was defending. I was defending against him, and obviously he's going to score 100 points when he's got a retard in front of him.
I don't like the Tungo either. I think you're just risking. I think there's better plays, like especially the center wings. That's where your money's been made this year. I don't think that's going to change for the run home as well. Like that's where your high points are. That's where I'm aiming for, just to really have the best players I possibly can in those positions, which is good. Mate, let's get a bit of an Oberg Cup and invitational update. Let me bring up the Oberg Cup just while you get organised. Now, he's come out from the start. He has been leading very, very strongly. It's Felt My Johnson. It's Johnny. He is the clear leader. He's on 26 points, 4 competition points behind him. And so certainly helped by the great glitch of 2024, is Wong Ha's Hole. That is Stephen. They beat me in a contentious matchup, I think back in round 8 or 9. Still filthy about it, obviously. We got Peter Farmer, sitting there on 20. He's in number 3rd. And big James Duncan, also on 20 points with Wham Bam. Thank you, ma'am. Cook Cheese Sandwich is on 18 points. That's Sean. Utility value, Andrew. Cook Cheese Sandwich. I don't mind it. Cook Cheese and Sam Itch. Utility value, Andrew, also on 18 points in number 6. 13th Legion is Michael on 18 points. And rounding out the top 8 of the Obo Cup, guess who's back? Back again, baby. Holding up the fucking podcast as per usual. It's your main man, coach of One Last Flight. I'm in a bit of a bottleneck because there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams all on 16 points. You dog shits. I am just about 400 points clear of the next closest with overall points. So if you're looking to get me on 4 against, boys, you're going to have to beat me flat out. Don't know who my matchup this week is, but I don't plan on going. Number 9 is Twirly Woos. Reese robbed my son at number 10. Pommy Raiders, number 11. The Birricks, the reigning, defending. He's there in the bottleneck. He's number 12. Up the Milk, friend of the show, Jared Oost in number 13. Thirsty. And then we come to the people that are on 14. We got Thirsty Puffins. Cullen Street Killers, Joel. He's coming back. He was right up there at the pointy end last year. Footy's Panthers, Shane, 14. And Friggy's Fools, my Supercoach nemesis there at 14 as well. We got Michael with Had Some Strange Weeks on 10 points. And then right at the bottom is number 19, Howie's Boys on 8 points. And some flog called Kyle with dead last. So certainly looking to be relegated. You and Jay can join me in the top competition next year. But I'm interested to see, how's the Invitational going? What's going on? What's happening? Give us a good, healthy update there, my friend.
Well, you'd be interested to know that we call him almost the Supercoach Pro version of Gilly. And that's your boy Butters is actually coming last in the Invitational. I brought him in this year. He's last. Yeah.
Yeah. No way.
Yeah.
So sometimes it is about the eye test, not about the stats. Jesus. All right.
But he had a tough one. So that's it. Everyone gets a bad year. This is his bad year. Other ones down the bottom, pretty much everyone's around that 12, 14. I'm going the opposite order, obviously. Then there's 3 of us that are on 16. That's Jared, Maddie, weekend at Amone's. That's Matty Tuvi and myself. Unfortunately, I lost on the weekend. I'd actually entered the slipstream. I was going really well, but I lost on the weekend. I'm pretty sure I'm done. There's only 3 rounds left of head-to-heads. Then we've got the Bundy Goats. Timmy Williams, he's 11th. Daniel the People's Chin, also 11th. Frank's Tank they're all tied 9th. They're all on 18, but it comes down to for and against. The J-Bone, he's won 5 on the trot. And he's up into 7th position.
All right.
So, Meniscus Biscuits,
the Obo
Force,
finding at the moment.
They're coming back.
Lovely. Good.
And then Big Mal's Thighs, they're all on 20 points, 8th, 7th, 6th. We've then got Ricky, Waz Check It Up, on 22 points on 5. We got Munster's Nosebeers on 24. He's in 4th. The girl I brought in J-Bone obviously brought in his Mrs. Leash. She's not going too well. I brought in my Mrs. Clementine Cassidy. She's sitting in 3rd on 26.
Nice get. Great draft pick.
Craig, which is Birdman's Bullets, is coming 2nd on 28. And then Dom Holler.
Great guy. I did a podcast with him for the Podmasters earlier in the year. Jumped on and he was there. And I didn't realize he was the guy. Like, Jay told me after. But I remember I was like, oh, yeah, not a bad bloke, like kind of thing. So the Birdman, shout out.
How good of a drafter I am. My team's not great, but who I draft into play for me is amazing. Dom Holler, obviously we're talking about Nick Berg. He's on 34 points. Only had the 2 losses this year. Currently sitting 97th overall in the entire Supercoach world. So not a bad year to bring him in as my super coach gun. Hopefully he can continue it on.
Well done, Bergie. Shout out to Bergie, listener of the show, 97th as well. And I'll just get this comment. Sorry, boys, been a little bit slack on the comments. Big Sarge, he says, have you lads done a welfare check on Gilly after the weekend? I actually played 18 holes of golf with the big Gill, and it's the best I've ever seen him play golf. So
he sucks at golf. He's so bad.
No, well, he was actually all right on the weekend, to be fair.
Did he hit the ball?
Yeah.
That's a good start. That's a big improvement.
Some drives down there. He was actually keeping us alive with the putting. My putting was horrible, but rest of my game sublime as per usual. Okay, nice little update. Now, mate, I'll go through these positions. You can either take it hey, this is a target that I'm planning on getting in this position, or this is someone that I definitely want in the run home, or this is the position in the perfect world. This is the player that I would have in this position or players. But Hooker, who have you got, or who do you want?
Yeah, we spoke about those ones. Obviously, it's Watson, Grant, or I think Reed, Marnie. You could always look at like maybe Reece Robinson, find some form after Origin, but I don't think he's just been there this year. So I think it's Watson, Grant, and Reed, and you got to choose one of those three.
What? How bad do you think this injury to Grant is?
Sternums are pretty fucked. Obviously, it's pain and just keeps going away. And he's been rested for a while now. It's obviously going to get tested out tomorrow night. Because it is more of, I think, a pain management injury, I wonder if they do back him up this week, although it is such a big game against the Roosters. I don't know if they back him up this week. Then if they don't back him up this week, you can't pick him.
Yeah. I just think he's only 639. He's got a big break even as well, 103. So he might lose some points. It might not be that much of a step to get like a Harry Grant up as your second hooker, just to give yourself some options for that run home. I might even look at like a second row hooker enough, just so I can play around with Connor Watson a little bit more as well there. Something to consider for the week. I like Connor Watson. I will have to have a closer look at round 23 and just see who else is on the bye and just make sure I've got cover in every position. I don't mind because I don't have like two. I'd have Connor Watson at hooker. I'd have Terrell May at forward. I'd have Gus Bus at second row. I'd have Dom Young at center wing. Teddy at fullback. I've got players to cover there, so I can still get my subs out. But it does take a lot of firepower off my bench, especially if I am, getting prepared. I've got two nuffs as it sits. The rest of the players are playing strong, worth some money. So just might have to really look into that because if you take 5 players out, 6 players out, I'm suddenly pretty thin, aren't I? So,
also, the problem with that one, and obviously you're going for overall this year, but round 23 is the first week of head-to-head finals. So you don't want to do all this work going, I'm going to save these guys if you are playing head-to-head. And then round 23, you get fucking bungled out because you rested 5 of your best players, hoping to get through this week just for rounds 24, 25, 26, If you finish top 4, generally you should be sweet because you get, you got a second chance. But if you're not top 4 in your head-to-heads and you're sitting 5 Roosters come that week, you're in big trouble.
Yeah, definitely give me something to think about. Connor Watson or Grant for mine. Mate, I'll kick off the front rowers and let you go. Would really like Haas for the run home. I think as long as, Broncos don't lose the next 2, I think Kevy Walters will be like, motherfucker, you're playing as close to 80 as I can get out of you every single week. He's such a monster. So I really like the Haas trade in. I also was having a sneaky look at Barnett. He's a bit more expensive. He's 70K more than Haas. And when it comes down to nitty gritty and moving around, that 7K can actually make a big difference. So I think I'm actually going to go Ben Travojevic to Haas this week, providing he backs up there for the Broncos. And I'll just write Haas and Cotter for my run home. And just a little bit of a Cotter update for you, mate. I know we have a bet over or under 60. You said absolutely not. Will he average 60? As it sits today, my good friend, he is averaging for the season 62.9, so almost 63.
Yeah,
so,
he'll get rested he'll come back and play like 5
minutes. You've been saying that all Origin. They play 4 o'clock on Sunday, baby. The big Cots, he's coming back. He will be fine. You can't rest him. Try and fucking argue with that madman. Those would be the 2, Barnett and Haas, that I'm looking for in the run home. What about your front row sports?
Yeah, I got Terrell May, and I brought, which I keep looking to get ready for him, but thankfully, Warrior Hargraves keeps getting himself suspended, so May keeps finding more minutes. I've also got AFB. I brought him a few weeks back, and then since then he's gone horrible. But I'm probably not going to trade him. I reckon I'll run those two. If I was going to bring someone else in, it'd be Big Payne Haas.
Yeah. No, I see. That's the thing. I don't really need to. With Terrell May starting, I don't really need to bring in Haas. I think, again, like looking at that Roosters thing, I think I just might sit on that trade this week. Like, come into next week with 440K to play with. Don't need to do too many updates, and just feeling pretty good about myself, really. Yeah. I know Roosters got a couple of easy matches. Maybe I will go Gus Bus. Maybe I'll hold off him for a couple of weeks. That'll be an interesting one. You're really throwing a cat in amongst the pigeons. Mate, second row forwards, is there anyone you're targeting, and who do you want to finish the season with?
Yeah, my second row is actually one of my strong points. It's pretty stacked. I got Fafita, Katoa, Ola Kawatu, Isaiah Yeo. And the other one that I'll probably be looking to do is bring in Crichton. That would give me 5 guns in the back row, which if anyone want to buy, I can just rotate them out. They're all good. And the problem is I'll have to play them almost every week. Harmoli was horrible on the weekend. I was like, oh, why'd I do this? Then he scored that late try, which saved his score. But they're all plays every week. Their scoring base would be 55 or higher. And then hopefully your Katoa or your Hamoli or your Fafitas or even Crichton scores a try. All of a sudden they're scoring 80. So I'm pretty much set at the second row, thankfully.
Nice. Mate, my 5 is exactly the same. That's exactly who I want to run home with. Dave Fafita, Eli Katoa, Ola Kawatu. I've sort of brought him in by necessity last week. I did do 3 trades last week. I did bring in the big guac. And Gus Bus and Yeo sort of thing. So I probably won't be, unless it's matchup dependent, probably won't be playing Ola over those other 4. Look to have a nice little nuff in there somewhere there.
You could have had Nakora. I didn't bring in Britton Nikora.
And
they're pretty hurt. He's gone well the last 2 weeks, 2 90s, and they do have a very nice run. I'm personally not bringing him in, but if you've got him, I reckon he's a hold till the end of the year.
Yeah, I don't mind. It's just not, I don't know, if I'm versing Nakora or I'm versing Ola Kawatu or I'm versing like Gus Bus or someone like that, that scares me more. Do you know what I mean? So the other guys are a little bit of depth. Mate, halfbacks, who is your run home halfbacks or who you're thinking about bringing in?
I think... So I've got Hughes and Sammy Walker, which I think a lot of people do. I believe I'll be going Sammy to Cleary. A part of me almost wants to go, fuck it, let's just run these 2 boys all the way home because they've got some decent matchups at different times. And we've seen that Sammy Walker can go huge. It would be obviously a big play not to bring Cleary back in, but most likely I'll go Hughes and Cleary. Even if Hines comes back for the last round or 2, I'm not bringing him in. I don't really think there's anyone else.
Yeah, Hughes and Cleary definitely for me. Daly Cherry Evans, mate, I've seen his name being thrown up a fair bit. It comes in at 600K this week. What are your thoughts on Daly? I think a lot of he's got a 15 break even this week. I think really a lot of the logic behind that is that he always plays really, really well after Origin, but is that all you're basing it on, like that trade? Like I know he's got 105 and 82 the last couple of weeks, but if you look at his scores before that, 26, 70, 46, 36.
Yeah, it's that same thing we kind of spoke about with Turbo, and that is he's got hopefully a good matchup this week. But then he plays the Roosters, then he has a bye. From round 23 onwards, I could understand it being a play for a few weeks. They finish off the year with the Bulldogs and the Sharks, though, who the Bulldogs definitely have been good defensively. The Sharks round 27, I'd assume both teams probably make the finals. I don't think the Sharks have fallen out of it. Manly, they're sitting in 7th at the moment, but with a couple of easy games, I'd assume they'd make the finals as well. Maybe they're playing off for a spot towards the end, though, means they get up for it. So it'd be a pod play, but I wouldn't be a play I'd be making this week. I'd make it in 3 weeks after they've had their bye.
Yeah, I think so as well. 5'8", mate. It's been a bit of a dull position this year. Normally one of the ones for the guns, but is there any love for any particular 5'8" for your run home?
No, 5'8's a bit of a wasteland. Unless you got got Campbell, which well done for you, and you can play him there for the rest of the year. I think it's kind of a coin flip. As we've seen, people are trading at their 5'8" still. I'm going to finish the year with most likely Jai Gray as my backup for 5'8", and Galvin, unless I trade Galvin this week to someone. I'm just going to probably rotate between Galvin and Jai Gray. The Rabbitohs have a couple of nice games. Hopefully Latrell stays out for a little bit, even if I don't think they're making the finals now. So does Latrell go on ice for a little bit longer, and all of a sudden Jai Gray gets the next 5 or 6 weeks, and I can use him in some of those easier games when they are playing the Tigers this week, and they play the Tigers again in round 24.
Yeah, I like it, mate. All right, here's my centre wings for the run home. I'm going to go Dom Young. I'm going to go Karaz. I'm going to go Garrick. I'm going to go Val Holmes. And then I would love to be able to upgrade Asako to Lomax and Bo Firma to Manu for the run home. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I really like it. I think everyone should have Dom Young. Everyone should have Garrick. A lot of people do have Karaz. And then it's those next few spots where it's sort of up in the air. I don't really know who it is, like who I'm going to get in. Tossing my boy Lomax. I don't hate that. I think he'd be pretty expensive to try and get back in. But yeah, any CT dub that's been scoring as well as he has this year would be great to get. Are people looking to? Do you have Mulatalo? Are you considering getting him back in? Obviously on the bye this week, but
I'm not. I'm anti-potting Sharks. It's like a strategy. It could really bite me in the ass, right? But I just haven't seen enough. I don't think Braden Trindle and Daniel Atkinson are there to really run them home. They're missing Will Kennedy next week. They just haven't done enough for me. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think if Nico was there, it would be a completely different story. But
yeah, it's like you could go Brian Todd, although he's extremely expensive.
My kid's really crying. Hold on, just better check on this.
No problem. But I don't hate the Lomax play. He is 800,000 though, so you do have to find a fair bit of points. He's also got a break even 159, going up against Penrith. They don't play this week, but they go Penrith into Melbourne. So if anyone is looking at Lomax, I'd probably buy him in round 23. And that might work out well. If you've got some Roosters players, you can get rid of that Rooster for a Lomax. Obes, I was just saying.
Good news. She hasn't hurt herself. She's just being a little fucking shit. So
classic O'Brien.
Mm-hmm.
I was just saying, Lomax, I wouldn't buy in the next 2 weeks. So he comes back after the bye, plays Penrith, and then he plays Melbourne down in Melbourne. So it's 2 weeks there where he could drop a fair bit of cash, and all of a sudden you're not paying 800,000 for him, but you're paying close to that 700. It also works out with round 23. They play the Dogs, which is a tough one, but you could, if you're going to sell any of your Roosters, you could go then. I think CTW is a very strange one. You could have those pod players like Lehigh Hopewine in the weekend who scored 130. So unless there's a superstar you need to bring in, look at those random ones. I've got Asako and I've got Ewan Aiken. Ewan Aiken needs to go because he's injured, and Asako needs to go just because the Dolphins have a hard run home, and I can't see him scoring too many points.
Yeah, well, I see a big Bowie keep making me firmer. Who I started the season with. He's got the jewel now. He's back in a second row now that they got some center wing stocks back. So hopefully he gets back to those 60, 70s. Hopefully he gets back up to 600. I could just sit him there for a bit of a depth piece for the next, the next time while I just sort of nuff out that, Galvin, nuff out a couple of others and just get prepared. Like I really quite like that. Fucking the Roosters, that round 23 buys, really man. Like not something I thought that far ahead of. So thank you for bringing it up on me. It's kind of crushed my soul a little bit for my run home plans. But don't worry. I would have loved to do it in round 18. Hey, I wouldn't mind To'o for the run home. So
yeah,
just want to see. Does Cleary reopen that Sania Taruva? Because you know how he was absolutely carving at the start of the year as well. Could be a little bit of a sneaky one. They don't have the easiest run home, but
the next 3 weeks are pretty nice.
Yeah, I think Dolphins this week.
Weeks even
St. George, Newcastle, and Parramatta. I really like that. If you go pretty deep in the head-to-head, they've got South and they've got Gold Coast, sort of thing. So. Little bit of an option there, mate. And who I know we've already touched on it, but your fullbacks for the run home, who are you locking in? Teddy
I'm going Walsh. I've decided I've talked myself into Walsh.
Good on you. Good on you. Nice little pod play as well. Like not too many people are going to be on him. Mate, that brings us to your trades for the week. What trades are you doing, if any? I know you got Appy Coruscant problems, same as I do.
Yeah. So it's still a wait and see what happens tomorrow night. At the moment, I'm definitely leaning Coruscant gone, Reed in. I'm lucky. I've got 660 in the bank, so it gives me shitloads to do whatever I want with it. And then the other one will be, it's not locked in. I might trade. I could trade Fuller out, even though he's been named on the bench this week, which he's got a low BE, but it scares me a little bit him playing off the bench, especially against Penrith. I could trade Fuller out. I could move Jai Gray up there, and I could bring in a 5'8", either Matty Burton and just have a crack, or I could trade Fuller out. I could always go Reece Walsh this week and really fucking go hard and see if he can back up this weekend, depending on what happens tomorrow night. Queensland lose, and all of a sudden he's really up for a game this weekend and goes out there and kills the Knights.
Yeah, and I think it also what Queensland win, right? I think like he gets a lot of confidence from that, like kind of thing. So, break even's nothing to be too worried about. Like 62, there's no reason not to. There's no reason to. But Trey Fuller coming on, probably playing 10 or 15 minutes. Look, I have completely flipped the script. I love watching Trey Fuller play football. The bloke's a fucking goer. Yeah, but I just think that 10, 15-minute roll off the bench, probably not going to do too much there, mate. So whether you make a move this week or next week won't really hurt you, but I'll be making a move pretty soon. I'm going to stick with Watson. I'm going to stick with my gut. I was actually like for the last couple of weeks, I've been trying to look for a way to get Watson in. So Appy getting injured has just opened that Watson trade up for me, which I'm quite excited about. I'm very happy to have him in. And it is time to go Blaze to Lungy. So I'm going to nuff him out. I'm going to bring in a stalwart of the Knights, a nice little guy that I like to call Jed Cartwright, which, does offer me the dual position to be able to move a few players around. I'm very, very happy with that. And leaves me 440k sitting in the bank. I may use a boost and get my front rowers fixed up, but I don't think it's a high need for me. So I might just keep the 440k there, keep rolling, see how Barney shows up, see how Haas is looking. Because I've got Cotter, I've got Terrell May. I don't really think that there's too much of a need for me. Might be 20 points. That extra trade may be huge for me come the back end of the season.
You've got 12 trades left, right?
Yeah.
So you say you make 2 this week, you would have to boost every other time you trade, unless you do a straight off trade to use all your boosts. I reckon there's a good chance you go into next year with a boost, as in like you don't carry it over. But I don't think you use all 3 boosts.
What, they don't carry over to next year? No.
So I don't think you actually use all 3 boosts the rest of the season. So you use 2 this week. I can't imagine the next 3 times you use a trade, you're going to boost. So, you know what I mean? Which I'm not saying you have to, but
maybe this is the week to do it. I see where you're coming from. Maybe I just bring in Haas. Don't worry about it. I just want to make sure he's backing up, right? I could get Barney, but I just don't see the extra 70k. I'd rather spend that elsewhere, or not have to nuff it out.
It's tough.
Yeah, it is bloody tough, isn't it?
I'll tell you what's even tougher is captains this week, because I'm looking at it and there's not really that many great matchups. If you've got any decent Rabbitohs, I'd definitely be leaning that way. They play the Tigers 3:00 Saturday in Gosford. Again, I don't know what the weather is. I have to check the weather reports. Maybe some Broncos against the Knights, but like you could go Teddy, but it's against Melbourne on a Saturday night down at Amy Park. So any of your Roosters is going to be tough. Penrith will obviously be decent against the Dolphins. If Yo had been backing up, I probably would have just chucked on him and been safe, but that's not the option. You could go Manly against the Titans, but you don't know if the Titans are going to turn up. So it's not an easy week for captains at all.
No, it's pretty hard. I think I'm just going to give Tommy the armband and just say, get out there, son. Do your fucking work. 4 points. Sunday afternoon, 4:00. The one thing that makes me a little bit nervous about this, though, is obviously Des Hasler's return to 4 Pines. Yeah. Like the revenge game, right? He's going to have his players absolutely fucking steaming for it, ready to go. And you're 100% right. There's just not a clear-cut captaincy option here this week. Who do Bulldogs play? Cowboys. Yeah, I just don't have anyone that I'm super excited about. Maybe Dom Young for the Roosters as a VC, sneaky VC. Just because Suali'i's back, so he'll be feeding Dom Young, and Storm are a little bit leaky on that edge, but she's pretty tough. Might not be the week to go against the Masters, mate. Might just be the week to follow the crowd, I think.
Yeah.
On that one, or just go someone safe like a Dave Fafita or Ellie Katoa or something like that. Could be a nice little safe option there.
Plenty of options.
Mate. We'll just quickly jump. I don't think we've had too many questions. We post did go up late today. Obviously, guys, we are trying to stay on top of it. I don't need to apologize to any of you guys, but life is fucking busy at the moment. Work's busy. I'm having a baby in a fucking week. Sag's working 3 bloody jobs like a dog. We can't even get Jay on the fucking podcast. He's working too much. And yeah, maybe Sarge is right. Gilly, where are you? Reach out. You going all right? Traveling okay? After that golf game, mate, I'd think you'd be back. But we do have a couple of questions here, mate. He said Galvin out, Plath from second row forward into 5'8", and bring in Jacob Preston. That's from the Sarge.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I think, and I was really worried about Galvin after the weekend.
Bring in fucking here, Sarge. I'll help you out. Bring in Isaiah Yeo.
He's not playing this week though.
What is he just completely ruled out?
Yeah, they've said they're resting him and Edwards this week. They're done. So I don't hate Preston. Maybe a little bit sideways. I do think, as much as I hated Galvin after the weekend, he's had those games where he's been down, and he's bounced back with 50s and 60s. So like 32, which he got on the weekend, is the worst he's scored all year. So maybe it's not. You don't have to move on Galvin, I don't think, but obviously it's an option there. Grant Collins here has gone. Do I turf Ero or Talangi? Feel they're same. I have trades and strong centre wing and just want to move one on for a gun. If I had to trade one out of Blaze, Talangi and Ero. I traded Talangi a few weeks back. Ero is pretty safe, as we said earlier in the pod. Blaze has just been scoring tries. I think the weekend was the first time he hasn't scored, and that kind of fucked his score. Oh, he still scored 50 again on the weekend because he set up a try. I would probably be trading Blaze Talangi. They come back after the bye into Melbourne. They've got Penrith 2 weeks later. Then they've got the Roosters. Then they've got the Broncos. So 4 very hard matches in the next 5 weeks. Plus he's on the bye this week. Move off Blaze Talangi, keep Kyle Ero, and turn him into one of those gun centers we were talking about earlier on.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all, mate. I like the way that your mind is thinking. He's keyed in for these head-to-head finals. He's done a bit of homework. I'll be listening to your analysis quite hard for this run home because obviously I want you to run your head-to-heads, but surely for the podcast you want me top 100, baby. So
I don't care about no. I'm all about the fucking 50 G's. 50 G's, baby.
50 G's. Yeah, all right. Grant Collins, he said, hub trades and strong centre wing. Just want to move on for, you sort of, that's, you just.
Yeah, that was followed on from his Ero and Talangi one, I believe.
Lovely.
Otherwise, tomorrow night, I tipped New South Wales last game. I was correct. I'm very worried about Queensland. Spoke to someone who plays for Wynnum, and they trained against Queensland the other day, and then they trained against New South Wales a few days later. And he said, I'm a little bit worried for Queensland. He's like, New South Wales are just fit, fast, and aggressive. So we really need to match them tomorrow night. Anything can happen at Suncorp. But I just feel as if this was the one year that New South Wales have finally picked 17 players who are origin players. Last few years, they always go, he's a good club player. He's perfect club. This year, they picked origin players with Barnett, with Martin going crazy, with these other guys. And it's bad times for Queensland, I think.
Yeah, really like, because there's been some contentious picks on Queensland side as well. Like things like Dave Fafita not picking the 20-man squad that he picked. There's just a few names there that you just look at and you think, what the fuck? Like, really? Are we just not looking to the future, or who are these people? Do you know? So for me, this one is absolutely up to the players, but really up to Billy as well. I think I love that we've got Ponga running around there. I think that's huge. I think that's really, really exciting. We lose a little bit on the forwards, but I think it'll be time to match up. I think we missed a chance. I think Felice Kafusi is a wasted bench spot as well. That could be Dave Fafita, and then you're probably a little bit worried. Just bring him on the back 15 minutes of every half. Like, tell me he doesn't try and do some damage. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, I'm hoping Kafusi goes out there and just smashes Moses. And we shut down Moses because
about time, isn't that why he's in the team? The assassin. I called it before game 1. He's all laughed at me. Come on, the
boys. I think we got a lot of points we can score, and we showed that in the second half of last game. But they need to be able to match that aggression and match that physicality early on. And if they get bitched out like they did last time, and New South Wales get a roll on, they're going to be down 20 points again. And they just want to be able to catch it up.
Yeah, definitely. I will say, like, the one outlier and the one thing that we haven't taken into account, mate, and please do in your tips, in your bets tomorrow night, and that is, of course, Origin Gagai, the return, baby. He's back. But you happy to finish off there, Saggy?
Let's call it, mate.
Feeling good? Is there?
Hey, goodbye.
Say that again. We missed you.
I was just saying, hopefully we hear Cam Smith shouting, "Go Dozer," right at the end of the game. Hunt, intercept. We win the game. 80th minute, I'll be going crazy. I'll go to Caxton Street.
Pick me up on the way. I'll go to fucking Caxton Street as well, baby. If there's one thing for sure that's not in the Supercoach world, it's Caxton Street. We'll be going off tomorrow night. Queenslanders bringing up the shield. Good luck for round 20 War Rumours, and we'll see you back